70 years later.
We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
What's up, guys? It's your boy Benny. Remember that time that Joe Biden said he's sold a lot of state secrets, more than he could possibly count, and everyone just nervously laughed at the table? Huh?
Thanking, anyway, I started off without you. And I sold a lot of state secrets and a lot of very important things that we shared.
I've sold a lot of state secrets and a lot of very important things. And we found out that that's true. That's what you call a Freudian slip, kids. It's when you say the thing that you're actually the thing you're doing, and you're not supposed to say that. You slipped. You straight up told everyone what you were doing. And we now know that Joe Biden has sold a lot of state secrets. So maybe we should listen to Joe Biden when he makes these little Freudian slips. Remember this before the 2020 election? Joe Biden saying, we've created the largest, most comprehensive voter fraud organization in American history.
We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
So at what point do you just start assuming that Joe Biden's just telling the truth there, and that he shouldn't be, right? He's making a gaffe, but he's just telling you the truth about what they're doing. Okay, well, let's look over here to the blue state of New Jersey, where multiple officials are now being charged with felonies for voter fraud in mail-in ballots. Of course, the mail-in ballots, the tasty, delicious, untraceable, unaccountable mail-in ballots that they shoved upon us with the incessant virus COVID panic of 2020. They forced elections to go to unaccountable mail-in ballots, and now you are beginning to see the rip-roaring fraud that occurs when you are able to just go and snatch anyone's vote directly from their mailbox. Check this out. New Jersey election fraud, new charges brought against 2 Democrats over mail-in ballot registrations. Mail-in ballot election case in Patterson City Council President Alex Mendez has been ongoing for more than 3 years. What did Mendez do? According to the Attorney General's office, Patterson City Council President Alex Mendez is facing additional charges for 2020 election fraud case, having previously been charged in 2020 and February 2021. What did he do? Before the 2020 election, Mendez was running for city council. He allegedly collected many mail-in ballots from households over several days in violation of state law. You're allowed to have somebody return your mail-in ballot, but it cannot be the candidate. It gets worse. According to Pat, this is the Attorney General's office, Mendez campaign collected the ballots that were not sealed by voters and examined them at the campaign headquarters to see if they were cast for Mendez. Ballots that were not cast for Mendez were destroyed or replaced with ballots for him. So they switched the vote. The replacement ballots were allegedly stolen from the voters' mailboxes. One of Mendez's associates allegedly took ballots from mailboxes in areas that were known to have many supporters for Mendez's opponent. So they targeted Republican areas, the Attorney General office says. Also, the voters turned over ballots that were incomplete. Mendez's campaign workers completed them. My God, this is everything that we've been talking about. They're literally taking the vote. They're taking people's votes from them. They're changing people's votes. They're completing votes for them. About a week before the May 2020 election, Mendez allegedly observed someone empty a large bag filled with ballots into a mailbox in the neighborhood municipality, according to the Attorney General's office. Approximately a week later, Mendez's campaign attorney sent a letter to the Board of Elections to urge them to count the ballots from this mailbox, despite allegedly knowing that it had been illegally obtained and submitted to the county. So they stuffed the ballot boxes. They switched the votes. They changed the votes because of mail-in balloting. All because of mail-in balloting. If you go into an election vote center on election day, there's no way that these shenanigans can happen. Or if they're going to happen, it's going to happen in a much more nefarious way after the fact, harder. You saw some of that in Arizona. Following the February 2021 incident, Mendez, he and others allegedly agreed to try contacting witnesses who are against him and provide them with new statements to help him. So that's election tampering, witness tampering, obstruction of justice. Mendez has been charged with conspiracy to commit election fraud, a second-degree crime, fraud in casting mail-in vote, unauthorized possession of ballots, tampering with public records, forgery, soliciting, and procuring or assessing unlawful registration, other violations of election law, conspiracy to commit witness tampering, all third-degree crimes, falsifying, tampering records, fourth-degree crimes. Mendes didn't respond for requests. But I thought it was the most secure election in American history. Here's the Attorney General, a Democrat in New Jersey, talking about this on his direct, on their Attorney General website. So in case you need further evidence, here it is. This ain't some conspiracy theory stuff typed up on, some Discord Q channel. This is the Attorney General's website. These are the charges sitting there. Here are all the other people that are being charged. Look at all these people that are being charged. Case being prosecuted by the District Attorney General Eric Cohen, Office of Public Integrity. Maybe you should do away with mail-in ballots. Same thing happened in Arizona, of course, in case you're wondering if this is just one-off. Same thing happened in Arizona. Oh, Arizona, most secure election in all history. Joe Biden, we have the most strategic and sophisticated election fraud system ever put place in American politics, right? Yeah. Well, if it's happening in New Jersey and it's happening in Arizona, where else do you think it's happening? Arizona woman accused of illegally collecting early ballots in the 2020 election. Funny, it's always the 2020 election. Pleaded guilty on Thursday in an agreement with state prosecutors that saw more serious forgery and conspiracy charges dismissed. Ooh, that shouldn't happen. Guerra Fuentes could get probation for running what Arizona Attorney General Office investigators said is a sophisticated operation, using her status as a well-known Democratic operative in the border city of San Luis to persuade voters to let her gather and fill out their ballots. Oh, interesting. Always the mail-in ballots and always filling them out. Prosecutors were apparently unable to prove the most serious charge, dropping 3 felony counts against Fuentes. Man, they let you do it when you're a Democrat. Check this out. This is from the Heritage Foundation. The number of proven instances of voter fraud is 1,500. This is the voter fraud landing page here for the entire country, right? The voter fraud database. 1,200 criminal convictions, civil penalties. You can search the database. Here are all of the criminal convictions. Florida, New York, Michigan, Ohio, every single state. Criminal convictions. False registrations, duplicate voting, ineligible voting, duplicate voting, fraudulent use of absentee ballots, ineligible voting. Look at this. This is the real pandemic. This is just 2022. This is just 2022. This is just last election cycle. 2022. Look at all these cases. Louisiana, Indiana, Idaho, Georgia, Florida, Minnesota. Fraudulent use of absentee ballot. False registration. Fraudulent use of absentee ballot. Don't let them tell you that election fraud doesn't happen. Not only does it happen, it's insanely common. And people go to prison for it. Blue states, baby. California City Council member arrested on suspicion of election fraud. As previous cases moved forward, here's what we know. Sakir Khan's resignation status from the Lodi City Council remains unclear as he is arrested on suspicion of election fraud charges and was booked in jail. Khan faced a judge on Friday, another case moving forward because that accuses him and his brothers of running illegal internet gambling hubs at 2 businesses. Sounds like a great dude. Khan is in custody in the San Joaquin jail in California. According to the sheriff's office, the charge against Khan, this is an elected official for the 2000 election. His charges are related to money laundering, tax evasion, illegal gambling, and false voter registration, and voting for another person. It's always the same thing. Fraudulent registration. Always the same thing. Aiding and abetting commission of fraud in any election. False notification or declaration of candidacy, fraudulency in casting votes. Again and again and again. These get no coverage, obviously, because they're stigmatized, but this is happening all over the country. It's always the same thing. Always the same thing. Unaccountable mail-in ballots, broken election systems, fraudulent voting, switching votes. Here are just 3 stories that are being prosecuted right now in blue states with Democrat activists or Democrat elected officials. You know it's real when the normies start waking up. Joe Rogan talking about voter fraud on his show, saying these elections are crooked as hell. Watch.
How much election fraud do you think is real?
Here we go, Joe. You want to go to election fraud?
Yeah, because I don't think it's zero.
No,
It's
no
not
way.
zero. I think we could all agree it's not zero.
No way it's not zero.
And we know that these voting machines can be with.
Yeah.
And we know that there's some irregularities, all that Kerry Lake stuff in Arizona that they're trying to dismiss. It doesn't look like that's invalid. It looks like there's real fraud there. It looks like there's some real shenanigans there. At the very least, there was voting machines that weren't working properly, and it seems very suspicious that a lot of them were in Republican areas. There's a lot of shenanigans. And I think there's coordinated efforts to make sure that certain people get elected. I don't know how far they go, but I know it's not zero.